In the Fellowship of the Ring, there's a place called Lothlórien, the last refuge of the elves in Middle-earth. And when the Fellowship arrives, an elven guard named Haldir speaks to them. In the book, he tells them something strange. He says his people live on an island surrounded by dangers, protected by rivers, located in the north. That description should sound impossible, because Lothlórien isn't on an island, it's a forest. But Haldir's words are precise, deliberate. He's describing something specific, something Tolkien knew. Because 358 years before The Lord of the Rings was published, a cartographer named Gerardus Mercator drew a map. At the top of the world, beyond all known lands, he depicted something extraordinary. 4 islands, divided by 4 rivers, at the northernmost point of the earth. He called it Hyperborea, the paradise beyond the north wind. The ancient Greeks wrote about this place. They said it was home to an immortal race, a people who knew no war, no sickness, no death, who lived in eternal spring, whose hands were on harps, not weapons, who dwelled in the far north, protected by rivers. Mercator's 4 islands, 4 rivers, northern location. Haldir's description: island-like realm, rivers as defense, northern position. The match is exact. But it's not just geography. It's the people themselves, the immortals who live there, the culture they preserve, the time that moves differently, the inevitable fading. Tolkien didn't just borrow the name elf from folklore. He reconstructed an entire mythology, a mythology that appears in Greek texts, in Celtic legends, on Renaissance maps, and in every description of the elven realms of Middle-earth. This is the story of how Lothlórien is Hyperborea, how the elves are the Hyperboreans, how Tolkien didn't invent them, he remembered them. Aragorn speaks of the elven lineage. He says that those of whom Lúthien was the ancestor still live, that this race will never be extinguished. He speaks of Elrond of Rivendell, of a bloodline stretching back through Dior, through Elwing the White, to Eärendil. Eärendil, who sailed beyond the mists of the world, who ventured into the seas of heaven itself, carrying a Silmaril on his brow. The elves don't die. They don't age. They are imperishable. Now, there's another immortal race in ancient mythology. Not Greek, Celtic. The Tuatha De Danann, the people of the goddess Danu. Irish texts call them the God-men, the God kindreds, a supernatural race who ruled Ireland before mortal humans arrived, who possessed powers beyond understanding, who were masters of arts, crafts, poetry, and magic. And here's what matters. The Tuatha De Danann came from the north. According to the Book of Invasions, they originated in 4 mystical cities. 4 cities in the northern islands of the world. They sailed from the north, across the seas, for years. Just as the legends say, the Hyperboreans once traveled the northern waters. Just as Tolkien's Eärendil sailed beyond the world, the pattern repeats. There's another moment in The Lord of the Rings. After leaving Lothlórien, Sam Gamgee looks up at the moon, and he's confused. He says the moon should be the same as in the Shire, the same as everywhere else, but something's wrong. When they entered the elven realm, the moon was waning, a week past the half-moon. They stayed 3 nights, maybe more. Sam can't quite remember. But when they leave, the moon is new again, thin as a fingernail clipping, as if no time had passed at all. Frodo understands. He says that in the land of the elves, they may have been in a time that was already the past elsewhere, that only when they returned to the river, to the mortal world, did time begin flowing normally again. Legolas confirms it. The elves change little, he says. Everything else seems fleeting to them. The seasons are merely ripples, repeating endlessly in the stream. Time doesn't work the same way in elven lands. This isn't a small detail. Tolkien returns to it again and again, and it's not original to him. In Celtic mythology, the Otherworld, where the Tuatha De Danann retreated after mortal humans arrived, operates on different time. A night in the fairy mounds could be a century outside. A year in the Otherworld could be a single day in Ireland. The Greeks said the same of Hyperborea, a land where the sun moved differently, where a single day lasted an entire year, where time itself bent. In Lothlórien, Galadriel sings. She sings of a wind that once blew in another place. Beyond the sun, beyond the moon, she sings of Eldamar, the undying lands, where a golden tree grew on the shore beside the eternal sea. She sings of Ilmarinen, of foam on the waves, of stars in an everlasting twilight. And then her voice breaks, because she's here now, on these shores, beyond the troubled seas, far from that golden land. She has lived too long in Middle-earth, she says. She has woven the golden Elenor into a fading crown. What ship, she asks, will carry her back across a sea so wide? This is the heart of it. The elves of Middle-earth are not at home. They remember another place, a place beyond the Western Sea, a place where time doesn't erode, where nothing fades. The undying lands, Valinor. The Greeks had a name for this place too, Hyperborea, the eternal spring, the land beyond reach, the paradise lost to mortal memory. And when the Tuatha De Danann were defeated by mortal humans, they didn't die. They retreated into the hollow hills, into the Otherworld, into a place mortals could no longer reach. Just as the elves of Middle-earth are leaving, sailing west, into the uttermost west, fading from the world of men. 4 islands, 4 rivers, a northern paradise, an immortal race, masters of arts and music, immune to death and disease, living in a place where time moves differently, where seasons don't age them. And now, fading, departing, retreating from a world that no longer belongs to them. This pattern appears in Greek mythology, in Celtic mythology, on Renaissance maps, and in The Lord of the Rings. Tolkien was a philologist, a professor of Anglo-Saxon, an expert in Norse and Celtic mythology. He knew these stories about the ancient northern paradise that appeared again and again in European legend. Did he deliberately weave them into his elves? Or did he tap into something deeper, an archetype, a memory, a story that humanity has been telling itself for thousands of years? The story of a golden age, a race of immortals, a paradise in the north, a place we came from, and a place we can never return to. The Lord of the Rings isn't just a fantasy novel. It's a remembering of Hyperborea, of the Tuatha De Danann, of every myth that whispers of a time before time, when immortals walked the earth, when rivers protected the sacred lands, when hands rested on harps instead of bows. Tolkien didn't invent the elves, he remembered them. And in Lothlórien, In Rivendell, in the undying lands, Hyperborea lives on. Not as a place on a map, but as a truth we've always known. That once, long ago, in the uttermost north, there was paradise, and we lost it.